How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Fame, and we are back with another FPL live stream. It feels like it's been a little bit. I'm on a new setup now. I mean, same computer, just a different hard drive. Got myself a nice spanking new SSD in the machine now. And we've upgraded to Windows 11, which is nice, because some programs that I was using weren't working as well on Windows 11, or could work better, basically. So I've had to kind of rush through, make sure everything's there. I'm also recording my VODs at the same time, so that's a nice little thing that allows me to, whereas I don't have to go through all kinds of crazy stuff to basically get VODs from Twitch, because those take forever when you go to do that in the video producer tab. So hopefully things should be all squared away. So if there are any hiccups in it, I apologize, but let me know for sure. But yeah, we're on to Game Week 9. It's going to be hectic, it's going to be fast-paced, and it's going to be all the way up until the World Cup. And the title of the stream is Salah being overlooked? Is he potentially kind of being cast aside, and could he potentially burn us in Game Week 9 as a nice home fixture versus Brighton, who have a new manager? Potter is not in charge, he's in charge of Chelsea now. So can Liverpool bounce back? Also to mention, Trent has not played a single minute for England over their 2 games versus Italy and Germany. Don't think he was even in the squad at all tonight, which is a bit bizarre. Same with Fikayo Tomori, but he plays for AC Milan and not FPL related. But is Salah and Liverpool being overlooked? We shall see. I'm on a wild card as well, so we can discuss that. So that's going to be fun to see. We're going to go through our predictions, differential picks as we normally do. And we'll go through what I'm thinking on the wild card as well, in terms of what I'm, looking to potentially do. And how I want to set up on a week-to-week basis. And we'll talk about what picks we're looking for there, because Isaac looks to be injured and out for a couple of weeks as well. So that could be a bit of a talking point as well. Is Newcastle going to be as potent? Is Callum Wilson back? Could it be just a straight swap there? We'll have to wait and see. But without further ado, let's see how we did in Game Week 8. I went to go, just by default, I went to go hit the stream deck, but I'm going to have to fix that. Because, yeah, I'm just gonna have to fix it. Because it's much easier to hit buttons on a screen, and that's what it's there for. So that'll be a note for hopefully before I might not be able to fix it before the deadline stream. I just have to remember that I have to click on the side here. But as you can see, the team is on the screen. Let me just slightly there, center just a little bit more. There we go. We got the team up on the screen. So we made 3 transfers. We brought in Ivan Perisic for the non-playing Trent Alexander-Arnold. We brought in Dejan Kulusevski for the non-playing Mo Salah. And we brought in Harry Kane for the, well, he was already on my team, but non-playing Cameron Archer. And we fielded a 3-4-3. All of our players managed to get on the pitch at some point, with De Silva staying on the bench as a potential backup sub. I thought that he potentially could start versus Arsenal, but didn't think much of it. I wanted to get 11 assured starters and have him potentially as a backup, because I knew that Reece James and Cucurella were not going to be playing. So let's run through the team here. So Dean Henderson, 2 points. Since we brought him in, hasn't been great. So potentially looking for a change there. João Cancelo, 9 points. Fantastic. Ivan Perisic, 2 points, even though he got an assist, but then conceded 2 or whatever it was, and then got booked. And yeah, it was really crazy, but effectively a blank, so not great there. Kieran Trippier, 5 points. Not too bad. Ilkay Gundogan and Andreas Pereira, just the 1-pointers each there. Kulusevski, someone who we brought in, got himself a return. Gabriel Martinelli with the 3 points. 3-0 win. I didn't watch the Arsenal game, but apparently they were quite dominant in the game. And when I saw 3-0, I'm thinking, okay, Martinelli and Jesus potentially got something there. But it was just Jesus with the 1 return there. Harry Kane got himself a goal and an assist. Nice to see. So we brought in basically 3 Spurs players, and they all got returns. Obviously, Son was the one to potentially go for, even though he didn't start. Came on and got a hat-trick. And then Holland was our tied second highest, well, third, if you want pick Cancelo. But if I'm gonna captain Cancelo, I'm gonna captain Haaland, right? So Haaland with the 12 points, they're getting himself another return. I think the only time I haven't got a return from a captain this season is when we captained Salah, and he still got 6 points, 3 points with the captaincy, doubled on him. So not too bad, not too bad at all. A small red arrow. But I was happy with that, to be honest. Would I have liked a little bit more the way Spurs played? Probably that would have been better. Did I ever consider Son over Kane? Not really. I really, really wanted to go De Bruyne, but it would mean getting rid of Gundogan, and that would cost me an extra 4 points. And I think with this, it worked out quite nicely. With the -4, I brought in 17 points on players that otherwise wouldn't have played. I think if Cameron Archer did play, he got 1 point. So yeah, definitely made up some ground on that one. Very good transfers there. So that was a long ways away, so we're not going to really pay attention to that too much because we got the wild card to deal with. But we had a reduced set of fixtures, and we do have our where is it to? Our tweet from last week. There it is. And that is what our predictions were. So if you aren't familiar with how we do the predictions, also got it's like slightly different snippet tool in Windows 11, which is interesting. So that's always nice. But for the predictions, if you don't know how they go, we do these every week for every game, and we try to see if we can get every score right. Obviously, that never happens, and if it does, then I should probably go buy a lottery ticket or something. But if you get the exact score right, you get 3 points. If you get the result right, you get 1 point. So had I predicted, let's say, an Aston Villa win, but I predicted 2-0 as an example, I would still get the 1 point for predicting the result right. And if you don't get the result right, in terms of, like, I predicted Villa and Southampton as an example to draw, and Villa ended up winning, so I don't get any points for that. So there was no game 7. So that one's going to have to be skipped. I have it written down on my notepad here. Then we got game week 8. So put a little NA there for not applicable. So yeah, let's see. What we try to do is see if we can get at least 50% of the score results right, and also 1 correct score. That's what we try to do every week. And the differentials, we try to get at least 3 out of 5 on the returns. And we try to keep the differentials under 5%, but this week it was a little bit different, so I'd moved the barrier a little bit and did 10% this week. But Aston Villa versus Southampton, got that one wrong. Predicted a 1-1, and ended up being 1-0 for Aston Villa. Much needed win, to be honest. So Gerrard got a bit of a boost going into the international break. Forest and Fulham. Forest seem to be a bit like, it's almost like they have too many signings, literally. And Fulham managed to get 3 goals versus them. 3 goal involvements that did not include Andres Pereira and Mitrovic. Mitrovic was highly wildcarded in game week 8 as well, and I could potentially be looking at him as well. I played Andres Pereira, but he got just the 1 point. So we predicted a draw on that one, so that one was wrong as well. Man City versus Wolves, I predicted 3-0. Exactly right. Bang on the nose. 3 points. Newcastle versus Bournemouth. This was probably the most surprising one of all. Newcastle not keeping a clean sheet, although Isaac did get the penalty. And all things considered, Newcastle weren't that potent up front, and was not great overall, but we got that prediction wrong. Spurs versus Leicester. Should have doubled my score. I predicted 3-1. It ended up being 6-2. So we get the 1 point there. Leicester just look all over the place, and I don't think Brendan Rodgers has much longer, to be honest. Also, what color pen am I using? Oh, that's a green one. I usually use the yellow one, or the gold. We'll use the yellow. That one's a little bit brighter. Brentford Arsenal was actually surprised at Brentford here. Really didn't hold up much resistance from the little bits and pieces that I saw after the game had been played. And Arsenal just looked in complete control. Complete control. So yeah, a bit surprised on Brentford there, so we got that result wrong. And we also got the West Ham and Everton result wrong. Very stale game from what I heard. It was a lot of a lot of grit in the game, but not really too much quality. And Everton coming out on top with Neil Maupay, who's apparently scored in every game he started against West Ham, which is an interesting fact that I saw. Don't know how true that is, but seems like it's something that Neil Maupay would do. Just some random team that he just scores all the time versus, and then never scores for the rest of the season. So yeah, overall we got 4 points, which isn't great, but we do have less fixtures. We did get one correct score, right? So that's not too bad. Clean sheet, Newcastle, not great. Martinez, though, getting himself a clean sheet. That was good. How many save points did he get as well? Just the one save. So no save points there. Emerson in defense, not great. They didn't keep a clean sheet, and I'm not sure if he started either. Phil Foden was definitely involved, got himself a goal. And Isaac as well got himself a penalty. So I got 3 out of 5 on the differential picks, which is great to see. Great to see. So yeah, so we got 4 points. So write that down. And we got 3 out of 5 on the differential picks. So yeah, similar to last week points wise, but we had 3 less fixtures to keep in mind. But we were better on the differential picks. Pretty much, we're either like well above average for the differential picks, or we're just terrible, which is pretty much how differential picks go, to be honest. But yeah, Leicester Spurs was definitely an absolute goal fest. Son coming off the bench, showing a point to prove, getting himself a hat trick. Leicester, I think Brendan Rodgers is on borrowed time. He's just basically slowly walking down the plank, or eventually he's just going to get pushed over the edge, as it were. Southampton might be in a bit of bother. West Ham, I think, are probably still fine. Everton's defense is, I think, the second best in the league currently. So, yeah, very, very interesting stuff happening in Game Week 8. But we want a full round of fixtures. That's what we're always here for in FPL. Let me just shift this down just a little bit. So, we'll close that off. We'll bring up the notepad, which we have here for you. So we'll do all the predictions for each of the games. Full set of 10 fixtures. We got 7 out of the 10 on the Saturday, starting off with the North London Derby. We also have the Manchester Derby in the same week, like kind of for the fixtures. Very interesting game there as well. And we also have a Monday night fixture with Leicester versus Forest as well. Could that be Brendan Rodgers' last game? Potentially, if they were to lose to Forest, although I think they should be able to pick up some results now with their decent run of fixtures. But let's start it off. Let me just actually put the music up just a touch here. There we go. I think I have the levels like I had from on the previous system. There was a couple things I didn't check, and again, it's going to be playing around with some stuff. So, like I said, if there's any hiccups or anything like that, let me know. But yeah, Arsenal versus Spurs. This is going to be a very interesting game. It's going to be a very interesting game. I think Arsenal playing so good. I think at home they're even better than what they what they normally are. And I think that Arsenal are one of the teams to beat, to be honest. I think Man United did really well to beat them. I think United definitely deserved that win, but I think it's just any easy team that Arsenal seems to go up against, or any team that they should probably beat, they are beating. And is Spurs a team they should beat? No, I don't think so. And I think Spurs will definitely be favored in this game in terms of stylistically, in my opinion. I don't think they'll be favored in terms of the bookies' odds, but I think the Spurs definitely have a real chance of sitting back, hitting Arsenal on the break, where they are definitely exposed and can be opened up. And I think Son could be a good differential in this game as well. I remember him in the one game, I think it was behind closed doors, where he just got the ball holding, just kept backing off him, and then he just curled it in from way out, and Leno had no chance. I think it was Leno. Was it Leno? I think it was Leno at the time, yeah. So yeah, I think Arsenal definitely could face some counterattack issues. That being said, though, I think it's going to be a close affair, and I think it's probably going to end up around like 2-2. I think Arsenal would definitely find some chances and score a couple of goals for themselves, and I think Spurs will get some on the counterattack, and it's just a matter of who can keep the nerve. But I think ultimately it'll be a draw, which would be a great result for any team away from home versus the team that's currently at the top of the table. We have to remember that Arsenal are currently at the top as well on points and are doing quite well. Bournemouth versus Brentford. This should be a very interesting one. Bournemouth coming off, obviously, a loss to Arsenal, 3-0. Bournemouth, we kind of suspected them to potentially be one of the teams down the bottom, but they have exceeded a little bit of our expectations, and since the sacking of Scott Parker, I thought that was personally preemptive. It doesn't seem to be preemptive, as they are doing quite well. I don't think, I think there was a stat brought up on Planet FPL, if I remember correctly, where it was something like Bournemouth have not conceded more than like 1 goal against teams that aren't like the traditional 6, because they have had a couple of teams where they've gotten tonked, and that was like the bigger teams. But when they play someone that's not one of those teams, it seems like they're pretty watertight. So I think this could be a pretty competitive game. I still think Brentford should be able to get the win, though. I'm going to go with Brentford winning the game 2-1. Crystal Palace versus Chelsea. Now, Chelsea have a new manager, have some time over the international break to get their system solved. There will be players on international duty that will be playing probably in Chelsea's first team. The likes of Reece James is an example for one of the players that's playing tonight. Mason Mount potentially as well. I think Graham Potter will be able to put them in seamlessly. He'll know what to get out of them. Raheem Sterling, obviously, another one as well. I keep forgetting he's at Chelsea, which is, just expect him. It's just Man City. But now he's actually Chelsea, because I always say, like, when England's front three, I'm like, okay, it's Kane and the 2 City boys, but now it's not. It's Foden's the only one at City, and Sterling's the one that's gone to Chelsea. Palace would definitely pose a threat here. I don't think Chelsea will keep a clean sheet, which is why I'm going to give Palace a goal. But I think Graham Potter will end up getting the result here. I think they'll win the game 2-1. I think it'll be more comfortable than a 1-goal advantage. But I think they should be able to do well versus Palace. But I still think Palace will probably get like a breakaway goal of some kind, because Chelsea will maintain a lot of the ball, as akin to Graham Potter's style at Brighton. Fulham versus Newcastle. I think this could be quite an interesting one. It just depends on if Callum Wilson is back. And actually, a matter of fact, let me check to see if Wilson is still out. That's the wrong Wilson. Lack of match fitness. So he should be back, in theory. He should be back. Want to monitor as well if you're on Alexander Isak at the moment, because you could be bringing in Callum Wilson, who could come straight back into the team and do quite well. So if there is any news of that, or we might get wind of that, that could be quite interesting, especially since the game's at 11. We might know some news just before the deadline passes, before the North London Derby, and we could potentially slot him in there, play him for the 2 weeks. I believe they have Fulham and Brentford. Yeah, they do. And then you could basically switch him to Mitrovic. So Mitrovic in that time, he has Newcastle as well. But he also has West Ham. And you probably want Mitrovic for more of these fixtures where Leeds are leaky, Aston Villa's leaky, Bournemouth, he scores goals for fun in the Championship, and Bournemouth is effectively a Championship team. And then Everton at home, presumably an easy fixture, although Frank Lampard has allowed for Everton to basically be watertight at the moment. Oh, little sneak preview of the team there. But yeah, we'll get on to that. That's just kind of looking at price changes and that sort of stuff. So, which a lot hasn't happened, funnily enough. So, very, very interesting just to see the lack of price changes, as it were. So yeah, what do I think? Fulham, Newcastle. I think both teams will score. I don't think there's going to be a clean sheet in this one. I think Mitrovic will probably get something in it. And I think that Newcastle will probably score. Callum Wilson typically does well when he plays. And if he does play, I think they can do quite well. I think Newcastle will probably win it. Get the away win. I'll go 2-1 as well. A lot of 2-1s in this first set here. Liverpool versus Brighton. I expect them to bounce back. I think new manager coming into Brighton. Will he have time over the international break to kind of solidify things? Will he get the same in-game tactics right like Graham Potter did versus Jurgen Klopp at times? I think Liverpool will bounce back. And I think that Liverpool will probably just scrape by. I'm going to go with a 2-1 the other way. Southampton versus Everton. I think Everton can probably manage to actually get a win in this one. I don't think Southampton are very good at scoring goals, so they are slightly better at home. Probably then I'm leaning more towards a 1-1 draw. Not many clean sheets this week, to be honest. So yeah, I'm going to go with a 1-1. I think Southampton's slightly better at home. And Everton seem to not concede more than 1 goal anyway. West Ham versus Wolves. I mean, this is the game. I mean, both teams are horrendous at the moment. Like, Wolves is just not fun to watch. West Ham's not fun to watch. And honestly, if we're like, I don't very often predict no-nos, but I think this one could genuinely be a no-no. I don't know why, but yeah, it's a lone game at 1:30 my time, which is the 5:30 kickoff UK time. Yeah, I just don't see it there. Man City versus Manchester United. This is actually going to be an interesting one, because if City play the same way or similar way to Arsenal did, which in theory Arteta is going to play a similar style of football to Pep Guardiola, then Man United could, in theory, have a good matchup versus Man City. Although, the only difference from the games versus Liverpool and Arsenal is that they were both at home, which favors Man United. Away from home, a bit of a different story. Man City are very strong at home. We expect Erling Haaland to start as well. De Bruyne, Foden, these sorts of players are going to be very influential in the game, I believe. And I think it could be actually a quite close call. The fan in me wants to say I think United will nick it. But I think probably what will happen is it'll probably be a game of chances. I don't think United are potentially going to give anything away in defense. It's just, can the midfield hold up? Can Eriksen, Bruno, and if McTominay plays, or Casemiro hold up to the likes of Rodri and Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne or Gundogan or whoever plays in there? And I think potentially they can. I see United getting a goal. I don't see City keeping very many clean sheets in recent times, at least. With Akanji betting in, Stones getting injured again tonight, Laporte yet to come back. So I'm actually going to go with a 1-1. Probably should side with a 2-1 to Man City, because it just probably makes more sense. But I still think United have that kind of underdog mentality at the moment, because of the way we kind of are playing to at least get the results, and kind of slowly integrate the style that Ten Hag wants to play against weaker opposition, which Man City is definitely not. So I'm going to go with 1-1. I think it's going to be close and cagey, very similar to the North London derby as well. But I think those two defenses can definitely be, like, Spurs will potentially just get carved open a couple of times, and then they'll hit Arsenal on the break a couple of times, whereas United's defense is a bit more solid, and same for Man City's defense, although City I do expect to concede a goal. But if it goes the way the Arsenal game went for United, they should be getting a couple goals on the break. And City might struggle to break United down, because United's defense is really good at the moment. Leeds versus Villa. I expect Leeds to win this one, to be honest. I'm actually going to go 2-0. I think they keep a clean sheet as well. Just Aston Villa are very streaky. They don't really score too many goals. And I just don't think Gerrard still, even though with this good result, draw versus Man City, and then win last week, I just don't see him having his best team. And I think Leeds right now are just a super energetic team that if you don't know how to deal with that, then it just can catch you off guard. And I think sometimes, especially down the back, where like Tyrone Mings has currently been playing, he's been heavily criticized for, not being assured on the ball or being too hasty in the challenge. And Leeds can cause some chaos. So that could cause for, basically maybe like an early red card or something that causes a problem for Villa. So I'm going to go with the Leeds win. Leicester versus Nottingham Forest. So now every game between Leicester and any opposition starts 1-1. So do I think Leicester can keep clean sheet? No, but I think they need to score probably 3 goals to win the game. So I'm going to go with 3-2. This could be any score, by the way. This could genuinely be any score. But I'm going to go with 3-2 because most Leicester games start 1-1, and I think Leicester will win 2-1. So that's what we'll go with. Let's look at the differential picks and the clean sheet picks. Who are we going to go for this week? Well, while we're on the topic of Leeds, let's back Leeds and let's see how much Meslier costs. Or Meslier. Costs 4.5 and he's 2% owned. So let's go with Meslier. I like him as a 1-week punt or a potential goalkeeper for this week. I think his fixtures aren't terrible. He's probably got to pick up some saves versus Arsenal, against Palace as well. Same with Leicester and Fulham. But will he keep a clean sheet in those? Probably not, but I think he has a better chance than any in this fixture versus Aston Villa. Defense. Who are we going to go with as a defender for this week? What are we going to go for as a defender? It's a bit of a tough one, this one, actually. Bit of a tough one. I'm just thinking, because there's not really many clean sheets, so maybe it's someone that needs to potentially get an attacking return. On a set piece of some kind. So let me just, like, which one of these games could potentially have a set piece goal? I'm just trying to think. Maybe like a Dan Burn or somebody like that? Who's like really... Well, Leicester's definitely weak against set pieces. What are some of the Forest defenders? Let's see. Where's Nottingham Forest? I mean, Nico Williams is the most owned, but I'm not sure. I'm not like too well versed on any of the Forest defenders in terms of their presence in the box. Let's go for somebody who I know is going to be a pretty good going forward. It's actually quite cheap in Mark Gahey, 1.2% owned, and is being underlooked, I think, especially with Palace's great fixtures coming up all the way until the new year. 4.3 million is potentially just a very good pick. Bring him in when you need him in the home fixtures, you know, versus Leeds, versus Wolves, versus Southampton, versus Fulham, maybe away to Forest and Bournemouth. And he could be your fourth defender if you're one of your midfielders doesn't have the greatest fixture, like let's say Pereira as an example. Maybe you're playing Pereira as their fourth midfielder or something like that. You know, maybe the Man City away fixture you probably don't want to play him in, or the West Ham away fixture. These sorts of fixtures, when you have certain players that are on the cheaper side, maybe you can bring in the likes of Gahey, and that might help you out. I know he plays Chelsea this week, so it's going to be a bit difficult, but you never know. Midfield. Who are we going to go with? Excuse me. Son's surely not below 5%. No, he's not. Okay. Too good to be true. Let's see. Ooh, here's one. Let's go with a little Harvey Barnes, home to Nottingham Forest. Could be an interesting pick there as well. 1.1% owned. I like him. I like if you're going him and Madison on the wall card. I like that. Again, these run of fixtures are very good for Leicester attacking-wise. Forest don't keep plenty clean sheets. Bournemouth have been doing quite well, but again, Leicester's attack is slightly different than a team that's in the bottom three naturally. They typically aren't going to end up in the bottom three. At least they shouldn't. Palace have been conceding goals when they shouldn't have, so that also bodes well. Leeds are always a team that's always going to attack, which opens up space for Leicester as well. So let's go with Harvey Barnes. And then forwards. Who are we going to go with as a forward? Forward. I know who we can go for. Dominic Solanke at home to Bournemouth. Or at home to Brentford, sorry. 0.6% owned and could be your third striker on the wild card. Again, 4 very nice fixtures. Southampton at home, Leicester at home, Brentford at home, with Fulham away sandwiched in there. Could just be someone you just put on the bench after you're done, and you know he's going to play week in, week out. You know, got a goal and assist in the Forest game. So again, could provide you know, decent value at 5.7 million. Again, he's going to be your 90-minute man. He was injured for these 3 games here. So, I can see him potentially doing quite well. So, I will pick Dominic Solanke as our forward differential. So, that's who we'll go with. And we'll post these over on Twitter really quickly. Where art thou? Tweets. Yeah, if you don't already know, we do post these over on Twitter every week. So make sure to give us a follow over there as well. Let's copy these here. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. Right. Now let's get rid of the notepad. Don't need that anymore. Now let's move on to what we've all been waiting for. So we're going to be taking a look at the current team. So this is the current team. You know, take things with a pinch of salt. Some players are in there for value and some aren't. At the moment, just looking at current price changes and whatnot. Just gonna refresh on it. Yeah, it doesn't look like anyone is gonna go. I mean, Madison's supposed to have been going up for forever. So yeah, I expect no price changes tonight, to be honest. So yeah. So this is current team. We got Nick Pope in goal. We got João Cancelo. We got Reece James. Those, you know, João Cancelo, Reece James. Don't expect them to go anywhere anytime soon. We got Kieran Trippier in there. I'm still kind of a bit like, not too fully convinced. Especially, I mean, Nick Pope made a bit of an error tonight as well for England. Cost them a goal. So that's going to be something that may ruin his confidence a little bit. And I don't expect him to keep a clean sheet versus Fulham. So maybe doubling up probably isn't the greatest. Maddison, I think, is a potential captaincy shout for Forest this week. Versus Forest this week for Leicester. Even though Leicester are in bad form, Maddison seems to be doing, you know, decently well. 3 goals, 1 assist on the season. Didn't get anything for 3 games, but got himself a goal in the game versus Spurs. So can always just pop up with a moment of just everything. Whether it be from a set piece, free kick, like a direct free kick, set piece being a corner. So yeah, De Bruyne is in there as well. This I'm still not entirely sure on whether I want to keep De Bruyne here, or maybe do I want to go with like Son as a 1-week punt, because they play like Arsenal away. Then transfer him out, and play him versus and play De Bruyne versus Southampton. Still not entirely convinced. That could potentially change. We've got Andres Pereira, Wilfried Zaha's in here as well. Might even start him versus Chelsea at home, but again, the ridiculous fixtures could be quite good. Martinelli is just too good a value, to be honest. I just think he's just too good a value. Yes, he plays Spurs and Liverpool in the next 2, but has Leeds away, which is pretty good. Southampton and Forest after the blank in 12, which City also blank as well, keep in mind. So, yeah, I just think he's too good a value. And then Haaland, obviously he's not going to go anywhere. He's 81% owned, 73 points already this season. Isak will probably go somewhere because he is potentially injured for the next couple of weeks, which is when we want him and when we were considering on keeping him. But now it may just be just keep Mitrovic and just go from there. And then Solanke is a potential punt as well. It's just kind of in there as an enabler for these 4 fixtures, and could be someone that we just kind of just throw to the bench afterwards. Or gain a little value and then use him as a kind of a make way. So I'll show you what I mean. So let's draw up a team. And what I'll do is as well is I will also open FPL.team as well. I'm putting my team there, and we'll put the team in just so we can see what the team will look like from week to week afterwards. So that's FPL.team there. So we'll use that in a bit. So transfer wise, so let's say, so what players am I not fully convinced about? Well, I'm not fully convinced about Nick Pope, especially with the mistake tonight. Not fully convinced on Newcastle. I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet versus Fulham, so maybe I'm kind of only banking on the Brentford fixture. United, I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet, same as Spurs. It's maybe afterwards that I maybe want to go for them when they play Villa and Southampton, both very, very, kind of scarce on goals. And then Leicester and Leeds are just better fixtures for them, I guess. So maybe Trippier is kind of going to go out as well. Perisic, I'm not fully convinced on. Emerson, again, just in there for 4.0, but again, not necessarily locked in there. De Bruyne, not necessarily locked in either. Andres Perez, and then now with Isak, he doesn't seem to be locked in either. So if Isak is out, but Wilson is back and goes straight into the team, then maybe Wilson comes in. Maybe we can go for a punt like Son, as an example, versus Arsenal. In goal, I think like Sanchez is still, pretty good. He does play Liverpool and Spurs and Man City in the next 5, but is still a solid goalkeeper at 4.7. Dean Henderson just hasn't really impressed me all that much. He does have still decent enough fixtures for the FDR rating on there. Raya, another one, still solid 4.5. Good enough fixtures until basically the World Cup, barring the Man City away fixture. But the goalkeeper that I kind of want to look at and see if he can, rack up some points is Guaita, to be honest. Very good fixtures. He does play Chelsea this week, which would mean that we would have to play somebody else in his stead, unless we wanted to actually physically play him versus Chelsea, which where the bench goalkeeper would come in handy. But again, we could get tipped that Iverson's playing over Ward. That might be one thing. Or another option is actually Asmir Begovic, because we don't know if Jordan Pickford is going to be fully fit for the Southampton game. So maybe we just go that 0.1 million extra and we play Begovic, and then just have him versus Southampton. They keep a clean sheet. As he did versus West Ham, and if that's the case, Jordan, and I keep saying Jordan Henderson, Jordan Pickford is out, then we should be okay. So that's something we can go for. I kind of wanted to include Trent Alexander-Arnold at 7.4 million, and then just go for 2 cheaper defenders. One of them being Mark Gahey, who will keep longer term. So we'll have the Triple Palace for the really good fixtures. These 3 are probably the most reliable, I would say, out of all of them. If there's a reason why Guaita gets dropped and then there's some goalkeeper shenanigans, then we can always change him to a different goalkeeper. And then lastly, we would get a cheap defender. It would be Emerson, it could be Patterson, it could be whoever it wants to be. Let's just put Emerson there for the time being. Actually, we'll just put Nico Williams, because that just seems to be someone that everyone's going for, or everyone has. So we have 0.7 million, so which means if we wanted to do Son to De Bruyne the following week, we have 0.1 million to do so. That if De Bruyne doesn't go up, because currently he is 12.12 million in the team, so we can also just kind of keep De Bruyne and play him in the next 2 fixtures, and then go for Son versus Everton at home and Man United, and then go for Salah afterwards because of the fixtures. So basically, you would have De Bruyne for these two fixtures, then get rid of De Bruyne for these two, not have him for these two, and then bring him back for these four. Is pretty much how it would go. So let's see how that would look kind of in action, as it were. So we would get rid of Dean Henderson. We would have Guaita. We would get rid of Ward. We would bring in... Ward's also versus Forest at home is another viable goalkeeper if he's going to start. But let's just go Begovic as an example because Southampton are also very poor as well. So we would play Begovic. We'd also activate the wild card as well. We wouldn't have Perisic. We would have... this would be Mark Gehi. This would be Alexander-Arnold. Cucurella would be Nico Williams. Jesus would be Dominic Solanke. Harry Kane would turn into Callum Wilson. Remember, this could also, if you wanted to leave a little bit of funds, a little bit extra funds, this could be Mitrovic too. Again, I like Wilson for the two fixtures if he's fit. That's just kind of the thinking behind that. Gundogan turns into De Bruyne. Kulusevski turns into Wilfried Zaha. And Martinelli stays the same. And De Silva turns into James Maddison. And I believe that's the team. So it would basically look like... Let's see. It looks like I got everyone there. So we would definitely play Reece James for sure. We would play Cancelo, De Bruyne, and Haaland versus Man United. Maddison definitely plays. I would play him personally over Andreas Pereira. Even though Andreas Pereira does have a home fixture. I would play him over Andreas Pereira because I think that Zaha could just score versus Chelsea. Like on the break. He just genuinely could. So Andreas Pereira will be our first sub. And I like Martinelli in any game, to be honest. Especially a home game. Who would be captain? Genuine shout for Maddison, you know. Genuine shout. But I think Haaland's probably the safe pick. So that's what we would do for Game Week 9. In Game Week 10, the team would be slightly different. Guaita would come back in goal. Begovic did his job, basically. We would have Mark Gay come in most likely for potentially Martinelli. Well, Martinelli could be quite good versus Liverpool, you know. It's a bit of an interesting one because I think it's tough to leave Mark Gahey out here. I think Andreas Pereira is probably the weakest out of the three. I think these two are more likely to keep clean sheets. So maybe that's what we go with. I think the armband definitely goes on Haaland again. Or maybe De Bruyne, depending. But again, Maddison is a vice captaincy shout, just as an option. Maybe Reece James is a captaincy shout, just because Wolves don't score many goals. Also, one thing to note, we have an extra 0.1 million. But we'll make sure the transfers work on the other screen. So we don't have to do anything there. Then, in the next game, this is where Salah plays Man City. Haaland and De Bruyne play Man City. So this is where we could get Son. So let's do that. Son would come in versus Everton at home. He could be our captaincy option as well. And this is where Callum Wilson would then get downgraded to Mitrovic, who plays Bournemouth at home, who's also a captaincy shout. So we would get rid of Wilson. He would become Mitrovic. We would get rid of De Bruyne. He would become Son. And then we leave ourselves 1 million in the bank as well. So that would be our transfers there. Andreas Pereira would definitely shoot up the priority list for potentially coming in versus Bournemouth. Even though they play each other, I still like Trent and Cancelo. We do have Guaita playing against Maddison, which isn't great. I think all things considered, that's probably about about right. We only have 3 defenders, so we kind of can't play Andreas Pereira. So yeah, that would be our transfers for that game week. Game week 13, remember Haaland and Martinelli and Cancelo were all blank, which means Mark Gay can come in straight for Cancelo versus Wolves at home. That's perfectly fine for us. Andreas Pereira, Aston Villa at home. We don't mind that either. But then do we want somebody potentially to come in for this fixture as maybe like a 1 week 1 week punt maybe? Again, Son versus Man United away probably isn't the greatest. And Salah versus West Ham at home, who haven't been great either, could be our way to get in. So the only thing is, though, is that we can't get Salah, I don't believe, in one hit, because we would have to, we would have we would point 2 off. So we would basically have to get rid of Haaland or somebody else to do that, and I don't see us wanting to do that. Unless we got rid of like Martinelli, but Martinelli afterwards has very good fixtures. So I think maybe we just play Brandon Williams over Haaland. And then this is where the differential captaincy could come in play. This would be an interesting one. This would be kind of a toss-up. So yeah, be a bit interesting there. I mean, I have no cover on the bench. So yeah, captaincy-wise, it'd be a bit weird. Maybe Madison, Zaha, somebody like that. It could be a very interesting week. Maybe even Trent, to be honest. Then in Game Week 13, remember, we're only looking up to and including Game Week 16 because of the World Cup. So this is Game Week 13. Game Week 13, Haaland comes back in for Nico Williams. João Cancelo comes in for probably Mark Gahey. We like Martinelli over Andreas Pereira, I think. And then Son does have Newcastle at home and then Bournemouth away, which is actually very good. But I think Brighton at home maybe is better for Haaland, or Forest away for Salah. I think it could be the option. So maybe this is where we chop and change. Again, Solanke now has tougher fixtures, so maybe this is a time where we can just downgrade him a little bit. So we go for Salah here. We then drop Solanke down, and we go for a forward. So for here we go Salah, and then we would drop Solanke down to just a non-playing forward, I would assume. I don't think there's anything in the 5 million range. No, not really. Yeah, we would just go somebody as low as like a Greenwood or somebody like that. We would put him in there. I mean, he's still owned by 11.6% of teams. We would maybe go for somebody who has not much ownership, but then maybe slightly more expensive. So yeah, maybe a Blade as an example. So yeah, let's go for him. This is where we could play Pereira. We could play Mark Gahey as well. Everton away. I think Everton will score many goals. We could back the double clean sheet there. Salah or Haaland for the captaincy there would be the options. Probably Salah most likely versus Forest, who are likely to concede more goals. We then have one free transfer going into Game Week 14. Salah has Leeds. I do like Liverpool versus Leeds. I think that could be quite nice. Which, if we get any inkling that there is a potential, like, Diaz or somebody is starting, then maybe we can go for something like Madison to Diaz or Foden or something like that. We definitely know we have the money for that. So let's just say I go for, Diaz as an example. And then we captain Salah versus Leeds at home. Maybe even Haaland. I mean, Haaland's still just good any week, isn't he? 15. Obviously, the only difficulties with obviously going Diaz, they have Spurs away the following week. So if we didn't want to do Diaz and we did want to do Foden, who has probably 2 better fixtures in that sense, let's just say we'll go for Phil Foden. The only thing is that blocks us out of De Bruyne the following week. So again, got to rethink, got to, reroute the idea. So let me check game week 14 fixture-wise. Maybe this is where we start to bring, Arsenal back into the equation. Forest at home, maybe. Maybe this is a Saka angle. Maybe Saka comes in here. That could be an option. Hey, Dark Sark. D Sarkar, I think is how you pronounce it. Another game plan is use wildcard this week. That's right. Yeah, I'm just tinkering around with like future plans as well. Just seeing what like transfers could do. Then Chelsea and Arsenal would then play each other. So we would probably, and then Man City and Fulham also play each other. So this would be potentially where we get rid of Salah, and we could bring in De Bruyne. And then game week 16, we then have the ability to take out Mitrovic and bring Jesus back for Wolves if we wanted to, because we still have the captaincy on lock there as well. So yeah, a lot of different things that we can do for this going forward. But yeah, so this is the kind of draft that I'm sort of leaning towards. I want to keep the money in the bank to be able to like if Salah does drop and De Bruyne does go up and we can sell him, then we still have that slight advantage. But this team will stay for 2 weeks, and then unless there's some drastic need to make transfers, this will be a sort of team that we're gonna go for. I don't think I'm gonna have Newcastle apart from Wilson on the team on the wild card. So yeah, I mean with Isak being injured, Pope making a clanger, which could spill over into his form, and also that 1-1 result just didn't sit well with me. Trippier is basically just set pieces or not. If you have him, you have him. You don't, you don't. I personally like Trent versus Brighton. Arsenal, there's always chances to open them up, and then I like his fixtures afterwards as well. And it's Trent, right? He's very, very good. I mean, he's got a goal and assist this season. They haven't kept many clean sheets, but they've only kept 1 actually. I think Liverpool, especially with him being rested, quote unquote, for the international break, I think that bodes well for him. So yeah, so that's kind of what we're looking at. The current team is just bunch of players. Probably the ones that are definitely set in stone is some type of cheap goalkeeper here, for sure. Whether it be Iverson or Ward or Begovic, somebody like that, who I'm probably going to play over Guaita if I have him. Cancelo will be set. James will be set. Trippier's definitely not set. Neither is Perisic or Emerson, but it'll be some cheap defender there. Madison is a yes. De Bruyne or Son probably. Andreas Pereira's fine. Martinelli's fine. Zaha's definite, assuming he's not injured. Haaland and Solanke, I think, are probably going to be a go as well. And then Isaac could either be Wilson or Mitrovic, probably, I think, is what we're looking at. So that's kind of what we're going for. So yeah, I think that's gonna just about do it for the preview stream. We're gonna have another video midweek. which is going to be wildcard related. We'll talk more about that. And probably go through some of the things I did on stream, but maybe a bit more thoughtful, as it were. Or at least I would like to think so. And then we'll be back with the deadline stream on Saturday as well. So make sure to join us for that. So yeah. Before we sign off, though, let's talk about our partners for the season as well. D Sarkar also says, have a good one. You as well, and hopefully you join us over for the deadline stream as well. We do them always exclusively on Twitch, and it's thankfully in part 2. Thankfully, is that even a word? But mainly part 2. The good folks over at Fantasy Football Scout will be using some of their tables back again on the deadline stream this weekend. So make sure to look forward to that. And all of our videos use them as well if we include any data in them. They all come from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. Check the About section if you're here on Twitch or over on Twitter or in the description over on any of my YouTube videos. It will help elevate your FPL game. It's a fantastic members area, so make sure to check it out as well. Now, without further ado, let's move over to the big screen. And that's going to do it for this one, for the Game Week 9 FPL Preview live stream. Make sure to like, favorite, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. We'll be back midweek with a video over on YouTube. That's probably going to be wildcard focused. We'll probably have the lineup kind of preview on Friday, and where like my latest draft is at that point in time. And then we'll have the deadline stream on the Saturday, so make sure to check out all of that stuff. Thank you all for watching. I know it's been a while. Have a bit of technical issues, but I think we did okay today. I'm looking at the system and it seems to be mostly fine, almost perfect. But we're moving things along. So, but I think it definitely is better that I took time out to get that, so that now that it's mainly resolved and that I don't have to worry about having to deal with a different version of Windows 10, and I can just upgrade stuff for 11 and never have to worry about it for a long time. Also on the SSD, that does things faster, which means I can get videos and stuff like that out to you much quicker as well. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.